What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We've heard this saying many times, and quite frankly, so do Japanese creators. Oftentimes, a nefarious plot meant to bring a character down only serves to fuel a comeback and push him past the brink and onto the path of revenge. At times, these can bite said villains with a vengeance, creating a monster that they did not know was inside said character. For today, we're going to be discussing titles that have such content. I know that at this point, you probably have some ideas as to what series will be included here. However, let me just preface by saying that I will be quite liberal with the usage of betrayed and came back stronger. Hence, I would say that some of these titles can be considered reaches, but I still believe that as far as the category goes, those titles still fit the bill. Oh, and before I forget, the video will have spoilers. In discussing why some of the titles make the list, I will inevitably run into some instances where I would have to spill the beans on maybe even the biggest twists in them. However, the biggest ones will have spoiler warnings before the entry, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys would have been spoiled with some of them anyway. The magic of the internet. I know what you're thinking, Dororo is quite the unique example when you look at the premise of the video. However, don't you think it counts? In order to have his way, Lord Kagemitsu, Daigo, instead of being the proper father that he should have been, forms a pact with the demons using his unborn son as a trade chip. Thus, Hikimaru is born without limbs, facial features, and skin. Few things hurt more than your own parents betraying you in this way. And to make matters worse, Hikimaru really has no say in it. Luckily for him, he manages to bounce back with a vengeance thanks to encountering Dr. Jukai, who gives him prosthesis. The story begins with 16-year-old Hikimaru now fighting demons with the goal of slowly becoming whole once again. With each kill, a part of him slowly returns, and it is only a matter of time before Hikimaru can become whole and come back with a vengeance. Given what he started out with, it's really a surprise how excellent of a demon hunter Hikimaru became. Then again, this is anime, and it's not surprising on second thought. 願わくば我らにお力を貸すたまえヤシャシーン The heroic legend of Aslan provides one of the most classic examples of the betrayal trope in action. It's got the setting and the characters down pats for crying out loud. Medieval setting, wartime setting, and heavy involvement of royalties and political affairs. Young Aslan probably did not see any of it coming when he set forth to prove his worth in battle against Lusitania, an empire opposing the kingdom of Pars, that the prince fights for. Betrayal strikes like lightning, and in a matter of seconds, the promising prince finds himself in an army decimated and himself on the run. The road to recovery will be a long one, but at least Aslan has his trusty general Daryon by his side. Despite the obstacles that stand in his way, like the opposing armies and a conspiracy that threatens his right to succession, Aslan will surely find a way to power through with the help of his own strength and allies that he can find along the way. Want to see how the journey goes? Start watching the anime now. Alright, now we get into a series more fitting of the mold that you guys who watch modern anime expected more. The light novel hero who gets betrayed and comes back an overpowered monster of a man. Well, in this case, much of the betrayal happens in the backstory. We start off with Kaze no Stigma, with Kazuma coming back after being exiled for the past 4 years. As to why his family and clan did so? Well, it's because he lost a fight to his second cousin. Yeah, that's it. Well, there's also the thing about succeeding the family and being terrible in terms of fire magic. It doesn't really help that he found himself unable to rightfully wield the family's sacred sword despite the pushes from his dad. However, the banishment only served to fuel his resolve, and 4 years later, Kazuma returns having achieved great power. Not in fire, of course, but in wind magic. When I think about it, he's probably one of the most overpowered light novel characters in those far simpler times, and much would not have been possible if it was not for his exile. Now we enter heavy spoiler territory, so if you've not watched Erased or do not want to be spoiled on one of its biggest plot twists, you've been warned. And yes, the next entry on our countdown is Erased. Pretty surprising contender, right? Who would have thought that one of the most intriguing mysteries of the past decade would be a story about betrayal? But if you were to ask me, it surely is one. After all, who else will be the one to kickstart the plot but the guy that we, as kids, have been taught to trust? Yes, it is the teacher all along, the one who killed his mom to set off the story, the ones behind all the child murders, the one who patiently waited for him to wake up when the supposed love interest did not, lol, is someone who, by all common sense, should have been a trustworthy person. Then again, if the teacher did not set off the wheels for the story, then we would not have gotten such a captivating adventure where Satoru learns so much about the past and families involved. With a character that looks as jaded and as dark as Hei, you would have expected him to have been through some shit. And yeah, he does. Betrayal is never an easy pill to swallow. But what more if it came in the form of your girlfriend in the middle of a major conflict? Prior to the start of Darker Than Black, such an event existed, dubbed Heaven's War. Amber is considered to be largely responsible for what happened in Heaven's War, and she was able to do all that damage thanks to being a traitor from within Syndicate, the organization she and our hero protagonist Hei work for. With the betrayal and the aftermath of the war comes the creation of Evening Primrose, an organization set to combat Syndicate. Throughout the series, Amber remains one of the most active antagonists. Surely not the most ideal scenario for our Chinese electric Batman here. Still, I would dare say that it is this betrayal that made Hei what he is at the start of the series. It is, in a way, a similar scenario as to what happened with Kazuma before, and I guess that's kinda a theme in these mid to late 2000s shows. How about a classic to mix things up? Ever heard of Black Lagoon? Let's take a trip down memory lane and talk about it. Although honestly speaking, there's not really much to talk about for Black Lagoon as there is to look at in amazement. It's not a particularly verbose series, but you can get some of the best down and dirty action that 2000s anime can offer. In Black Lagoon's case, our unlucky guy is Rokuro, in spades. Being in a cutthroat world like the one in Black Lagoon features, it's obviously not an ideal environment for the wide-eyed idealist and overall nice guy that our main character is. And that is part of what makes the series so fun to watch. It's a complete fish out of the water situation for our former salaryman here, and he's done quite the awkward job of adapting to it. His nice salaryman facade can only hold up for so long. However, and Rokuro has been undergoing some changes himself. Being in the company of criminals does that. While Rokuro still remains one of the nicest guys in the main cast, he starts progressively becoming more and more jaded and cynical in his outlook of the world. I consider 91 Days one of the more underrated anime in recent years, but at the same time, it was no surprise that it had such a low profile. Despite that, I would say that this is a great show full of amazing twists. The tricky part with 91 Days is that there's no specific moment where the main character gets betrayed, only to come back stronger. It could be the start, with the revenge story premise and all. It could also be later on down the line, where a certain character you thought would be weak and innocent ends up being a nightmare of a person. Whatever they are, 91 Days is a show that will surely keep you at the edge of your seat. Whether it be the twists or the cathartic resolutions in the characters' arcs, this is an underappreciated gem that you need to start seeing.
Just die, dumbass.
For number 3, I'll be talking about something that is way ahead of its time. 2012 and its next few years have been great years for video game shows. 2012 alone has given us 2 Reiki Kawahara shows, and there's this one. Pubg with bombs, anyone? Batum is overall a really fun ride that begins with a reality check for our protagonist, Ryota Sakamoto. Anyone who spent a few years playing Battle Royales will know the cardinal rule that you cannot trust anyone. In the world of the Battle Royale, it's never a good idea to trust anyone who could just blow you up at the slightest provocation. But numerous instances of this never killed Ryota, and instead toughen him up and turn him into a person who, gaming accolades aside, is generally quite the average NEET into a badass survivor. I find it sad that the series did not take off like I would have wanted, so why don't you guys go and spare some of your time and check this series out. I think that it's aged quite well into the new decade, so I want to know what you guys think. If you've already watched the show, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Here's what we've all been waiting for, I presume. I did not see anyone who has a passing familiarity with Rising of the Shield hero who does not know the betrayal that happens early on in the series. In fact, that's the whole theme of the series. It's the story of the odd man out among a group of heroes and and the betrayal that sent him on a road to becoming a darker and edgier version of the light novel protagonist archetype. Among the modern isekai, I find this story of a man's rise to overcome the odds after being pushed down so hard to be a favorite. It really made an impression on me, and I just loved how the main cast of characters, aka the mostly monster girl sort of harem members he gets along the way, bounce off each other. I wonder if you will feel the same way too. If you haven't watched Rising of the Shield Hero yet, best check it out because a second series of one of the best isekai anime in the recent years is well on its way. As to why Shield Hero is number 2 on this list, well, it turns out there's a slightly less popular version of it that features a main character who becomes way more overpowered than Naofumi after being betrayed. Betrayed and left to die in another world, come back stronger and collect female traveling companions who happen to be a combination of humans and several beast girls and whatnot? Rather tame hero who comes out of hell looking like every 13-year-old's dream avatar? Is this Shield Hero or Ari Fureta? Yes, this cousin to Shield Hero features a premise and story beats that are eerily similar. I enjoyed both of them, and I would say that the plot diverges a bit after the start. As I said, Hajime probably took the biggest zero to hero jump in anime that I can remember. Just look at what Hajime can do as soon as he recovers from his classmate's betrayal. I don't think that Naofumi even compares when you look at how insane this guy is right at the end of the first arc. Pro tip, read the light novels for this series. At least you would not have to deal with the hilariously bad CGI and get some extra world building if that's your drift. That way, you can properly prepare yourself for the second season that's been announced. As to when it will be released, who knows? I just hope that they have not forgotten about it. Actually, I take that back. Yeah, go watch the anime and laugh at its PS1 tier graphics for monsters, but try not to let that distract you from the otherwise good aspects of it like the voice acting. We end this list with that, and I want to know what you think. Do you agree with saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? How about sharing some more examples from anime that I neglected to mention? I'd love to hear your thoughts after coming this far. If you had fun and enjoyed the content, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and share the channel to your friends. The AnimeRegent appreciates your support, and I will be hoping to see you next time.